What's up, Dad Hacker? What can you do to make your life run more smoothly? Today I'm going to share with you 3 hacks for making your life run more smoothly that you can implement today. Check it out. Alright guys, Patrick Antonucci here, and this is Dad Hackers. I'm a dad of 5. My oldest is 11, my youngest is about 2.5 at the time of this recording. I've been a husband for going on 14 years, and I'm learning alongside with you, and I got a lot to share, and thanks for joining in today. Now, Dad Hackers is a group where we encourage, equip, and enable dads to become the men that God created them to be and that God designed them to be, so that they can raise up the next generation of fully devoted followers of Christ, and so that they can leave a multi-generational legacy of faithfulness. And so everything we do is kind of tied to that, whether directly or indirectly. And we want to create a community of men so that we can all work together. As you know, the Bible talks about iron sharpening iron. And this is an opportunity for you to be a part of a community of men where iron is sharpening iron. So I'm going to share with you different things that I'm learning along my journey, and hopefully you'll share and we can all work together. So what are those 3 hacks that you can begin implementing today? Number 1 is the list hack. All right, some of you may already do this, but if you're not, I highly suggest that you make a list, a to-do list. Don't just think about it in your head, actually write it down and make a list of tasks that you want to accomplish today. You know, they say that people that write their goals down are more likely to achieve them. People that write down their list of to-dos are more likely to accomplish them. So take the 5 minutes that it takes to write a list. Now here's the thing. When you do a kind of like a brain dump and put it on a list, it's gonna be kind of refreshing to you because you're not trying to hold all this in your head, but you're actually getting it down on paper, right? And so you're not getting all confused. I know lots of times I have good ideas and things I want to do, and if I don't write it down right then, I tend to forget it. And I'm like, what was I thinking about? What was that? You know what I'm saying? So get it down on paper and make a list. Another thing that's nice about having a list is there's that sense of instant gratification. You know, when you cross it off, it feels really good to feel like you've accomplished something, or you put a check mark next to it or an X. Sometimes what I do is, if I'm late making my list for that day, I'll put stuff I already did just so I can cross it off and make it look like I did something. Now, a caution here is don't make your list too extensive, because I'm guilty of this. What I tend to do is try to get too much done in one day, and then my day is filled with tasks and I'm running here and there, and I'm not engaging with my loved ones, with my wife and with my children like I ought to, because I'm trying to get too much done. Okay, so be careful with what you put on the list. Another thing that you can do is make your list and then make it a prioritized list. What is the number one thing that if you got that done today, it would be a win for the day? The day would go down in the books as a good day. Or maybe you put your top 3. Okay? What are some of those things? I can't make your list for you, but at the top of my list every day is time with God and is time with my family. Now, those aren't necessarily tasks like I gotta do that, but I know that if I plan on it and I have a plan and I'm intentional about it, I'm more likely to invest in my family like I ought to, and that builds over time, and you get a lot of momentum in your relationships, right? So anything you do, anything you want to do in your day, write it down and make a list so that you can have an organized and intentional plan about your life for that day, and then you can cross it off and feel good about crossing it off. And I'll tell you what, I do this at home and I also do this at work. The first thing I do when I get to work in the morning is I make a list. A lot of the same things are on that list every day, but I put them on the list for two reasons, because I don't want to forget, and second, so that I can cross it off. And then at the end of the day, if I have a lot of crossed off parts of my list or a lot of things checked off, it feels good. So hack number 1, make a list. Hack number 2 is the romance hack. So what's the romance hack? Well, think about it like this. Often more is caught than is taught by your children. So you want to treat your wife with love and honor and grace and mercy and respect. Okay? So the romance hack is to romance your wife. And you might think, well, what's that have to do so much with being a dad? Well, I'll tell you. You being the example to your children will show them the kind of husband that they ought to be, if they're boys, or the kind of husband that they're going to be on the lookout for when they're looking for a husband. Okay? So they say that men tend to marry women that are like their mothers, and they tend to be husbands like their fathers were husbands, and women tend to marry men that are like their fathers. So think about that. Would you want your daughter to marry a man like you? Would you want your husband to be, would you want your son to be a husband like you are a husband? Now, I know that's going to take some personal reflection, and I know myself 100% no. There's some things about how I am a husband that yes, I would want my children to do, but there's other things that no, I know there's pieces of me that I have to work on. But some things that you can do is let your kids see you romance your wife. And what do I mean by that? Gentle hugs, gentle kisses, throughout the day, giving her compliments, and thanking her and being gracious to her and being kind to her and being loving toward her, and being respectful to her and being a gentleman throughout the day in your home. Another thing that you can do that's kind of a romance hack is pick up some of the slack around the home. You know, do the dishes, cook a meal, change the laundry, make the bed, change that dirty diaper, even if it's a nasty one. You know, you don't want your kids growing up thinking that all a dad does is go to work, come home, sit down and stare at his phone or stare at the television or just eat a snack when he gets home and then just kind of like peter out and do nothing and disengage. No, we are trying to raise up the next generation of fully devoted followers of Christ. And if we want to have any chance at leaving a legacy of multi-generational faithfulness, it has to start with us. It has to start with you, and it has to start with me. And one of the ways that it starts with us is with the kind of man that we are in our homes. Now, some of you are divorced, some of you are single dads, some of you don't have a wife. How does that apply to you? Well, it directly applies in how you treat other people, particularly those in your home. When your kids are around, how are you treating them? Are you a gentleman to your daughters? Are you respectful and kind and loving to your children? When you're out and about and you're dealing with other people, particularly with women, are you respectful? What is your language around women when you are speaking about women and to women? Okay, your kids pick up on this, and they will behave like you behave, for better or for worse. So, kind of went on a little bit of an extension there, but I know this is true in my life because I see my kids doing things that I like that I do, that are good things, and I also see things that my kids have begun to do that I'm not so proud of, and I know that they got it from me. So I'm right there with you. And again, that's why I want to create this community, surrounding myself with men who are on the same trajectory as me, who want to become better men, who want to become the men that God has designed them to be. So hack number 2 is the romance hack. Hack number 3 is the money saving hack. Now this one's kind of a little bit silly, but it will help you out a lot. What I mean by the money saving hack is when you go to the store, do you bring a list? Or do you just try to think off the top of your head what you're gonna get? I do the grocery shopping a lot of the time in my home, but maybe you don't, maybe you do, maybe you're often called upon to pick up some stuff on your way home from work. Whatever it is, it's good to have a list. Now, why? Well, when you have a list, you have a plan, and you're more likely to stick to that list. And if you don't have a list, when you go to the store, one, you're gonna waste time because you're trying to think about what you went there to get, right? But you're probably going to spend more money because you don't have a list. So you're like, oh, I'll get that. Oh, I need that. Oh, I'll get that too. And then, you went in for maybe $5 or $10 worth of things and you come out with $25, $30. I know you've done it. I do it all the time. Not all the time, but you get what I'm saying. It's happened a lot, and I know it's happening to you. Another thing that a list is good for is if you're going to the store with your children, lots of times you're going to get requests. Dad, can I get this? Dad, Dad, can we look at this? Can we look at that? Well, it's fine to go look at the Legos at Walmart or look at the bikes or go look at the video games or whatever. But if you have a list and your kids are asking for something, you could say, well, I got this list here, and we got to stick to the list, and that's not on the list, so I'm just not going to get it this time, right? So, kind of blame the list. I do that, and it kind of works. And if you raise your children up doing that, it's like nothing new, and you don't really get too much pushback. Another thing that stores are very, very, very creative and subtle, how they get your kids to nag you to buy extra stuff, particularly in the checkout aisle. Did you ever go to Walmart or any checkout aisle and notice how much stuff is right at their level, particularly toddlers and preteens? That they put stuff on the lower shelves that's going to catch the eyes of children because they know they're down there rolling around on the floor, sitting on the bottom of the cart, and that the kids are going to see that stuff. And so they put it down there so that the kids see it, and then the kids ask and nag for it. And guess what? You just walked out with $5, $10, $20 extra stuff that was in the checkout aisle that you didn't plan on buying, that your kids saw and wanted, and you gave in and got it. Well, if you have a list, you can say, again, sorry, it's not here on the list, so I can't get it, right? So having a list is really having a plan and going to the store intentionally. Now, this doesn't just have to apply to the grocery store. It can be any store you go to. If you're going to the hardware store or, maybe Dick's or whatever, if you have a list, you're more likely to stick to that list, and you're more likely to not buy extra stuff and spend extra money on things you didn't need in the first place. So, hack number 3 is to go with a list. All right, guys, that's it today. That's our 3 hacks to make your life a little bit more simple. You can actually go ahead and start implementing those today. And thanks for being a part of this community of dad hackers. We want to be a community of men where we encourage, edify, and equip men to raise up the next generation of fully devoted followers of Christ, to be the men that God designed and created us to be, so that we can leave a multi-generational legacy of faithfulness. And if you want to take the community another step further, you can join our private Facebook group. It's free. It's for dad hackers. The link is below. Check it out. Join us, and we'll see you in there. We kind of take the conversation a little bit further. There's more interaction going on, and it's just a great place, and I encourage you to check it out. Also, question of the day: what is a hack that you are currently doing that you could share with us? Put it in the comments below and let us know what's a hack that you are using. All right, guys, Patrick here with Dad Hackers, gonna wrap it up. But also wanted to ask you, if you haven't yet subscribed or followed us, make sure that you do. Make sure to like, comment, and share this video. And remember that your example to your children is primary in how they are going to grow up and be the next generation. All right, guys, take care.